we're going to go and really focus in on this area of senior leadership. And we're going to take you right down through the model and look at what we can do to improve the scores on senior leadership. And in fact, if we can make some changes with senior leadership, what kind of impact is that going to have all the way through on employee engagement? The Build a Better Workplace report, of course, goes into detail into each of these chapters, but we don't have time to go into it all today. We'll focus here on senior leadership. Are Canadian leaders inspiring trust and confidence? Senior leaders have a lot of challenges. When you see the headlines in the newspaper, across the media, usually they're not good when they're connected to senior leaders, right? The senior leaders have a challenge to overcome just in terms of the public relations. These are just a selection of some out of the newspaper recently. What impact do those kinds of stories have on the perception of senior leaders? And we see that perception coming through the data. So if we're to have a look at trust, do employees trust their senior leaders? When we look across Canada at the average Canadian, 39% of Canadians are saying they trust their senior leaders. 39%. We were really surprised at how low that was. Well below half of the employees across Canada trusting senior leaders, right? Now, the connection to engagement. When we look back at that group that we were just talking about at 27%, remember that group that's highly engaged? If we focused in on those folks, the highly engaged employees, look at the number. It goes all the way up to 75%, right? So clearly a connection. Let's have a look at confidence in senior leaders. Again, across Canada, Canadian employees, 44%. A little bit better, but still well below half. Of the highly engaged, we're up to 81%. So clearly there's a connection between the trust and confidence in senior leaders and the level of engagement employees have within their organization. Here we go to generations, okay? When we were talking about engagement, we were seeing that Gen Y, Gen X a little bit lower. We start to see a different pattern. So Gen Y, 49%, right? We found that pretty surprising that the Gen Y group were, compared to some others, right, compared to baby boomers, they're actually fairly confident in their senior leaders. Traditionalists, very strong at 50%. Look at Gen X. Gen X drops right down to 38%. So with all the talk in the media about Gen Y, and with baby boomers we've been hearing about for ages, look at how the Gen X group is kind of stuck in the middle in terms of their confidence in senior leaders. Is it the Gen X group that have been waiting for those roles, waiting for those baby boomers to retire? Or perhaps Gen Y, are we parachuting Gen Y into leadership roles right past Gen X? So this is maybe a wake-up call. We heard some generational discussions. We've been hearing a lot about Gen Y. Let's be sure that organizations don't forget about this Gen X group.